Thank you, Kishore. So even I didn't realize that this is the 17th webinar which we're doing.
Yes.
So it's interesting. And we definitely have covered quite a lot of topics around on this. So good evening, friends. I think competition in business is constantly increasing. And more than ever before, providing the high quality products and services is the key to survival and growth in the today's marketplace. Whether it is in manufacturing, healthcare, or service industries, companies are striving now to achieve the zero defects. While zero defect sounds great, it is literally almost impossible to achieve it as well. Okay? The fact is that the mistakes do happen and errors can occur in all types of the processes. Okay? A machine operator or office worker, he may get distracted or forget to complete a task, or a machine can break a tool and cause an error. So there can be many reasons how the defects can creep in. Okay. Mainly, companies rely on the training and work instructions to prevent the errors. Okay. Let me just share the screen as well so that yeah. So most of the time, companies would rely back saying that let's train and let's improve our work instructions to prevent the errors. But historical information always indicates that no matter how much training the operator receives or how well the process is documented, human errors can still occur. So while application of the standard work practices and operator training are the very valid methods for reducing the frequency of errors, they will not be able to prevent the errors from occurring. So mistake proofing or Poka-Yoke methodologies, they can detect the errors and prevent the non-conforming parts from moving to the next process or leaving your facility. Furthermore, by implementing the error proofing techniques to detect the error at the source, we can always prevent the non-conforming parts of products from being produced. So then we can, if we do this Poka-Yoke, we do the error proofing, we do the mistake proofing, then we can actually be on the roads towards the zero defect. That still doesn't mean that we will be able to achieve the 100% zero defect, but we can still move to 99.99 or whatever percentage towards that. Okay. So today we will discuss about what is Poka-Yoke, look at some common examples. We will try to understand the principles of Poka-Yoke and difference between the error proofing, mistake proofing, and Poka-Yoke. Okay. We will also look at the prevention versus the detection and methods of the Poka-Yoke, followed by the commonly implemented Poka-Yoke. I'll try to discuss some of the Poka-Yokes which we have implemented through my team in various client locations, and then we will summarize and conclude this particular session. Okay. So to begin with, Poka-Yoke is a Japanese term, as Kishore rightly said. It's a Japanese term that means the mistake proofing. Okay. Poka-Yoke is any mechanism in a lean manufacturing that helps an equipment operator to avoid committing the mistakes. Okay. Mistakes being Poka and avoiding being the earlier the word used was the Yoki-ru. Now the Yoki-ru has been simplified to now Yoke. So Poka-Yoke. Okay. The Poka-Yoke philosophy is based upon two fundamental observations about the human behavior, which is number one, mistakes are inevitable, and two, errors can be eliminated. Okay. And that is why we say that it is a lean strategy in human error prevention. Okay. So that is a quick overview about this. Poka-Yoke was developed by a Japanese engineer called Shigeru Shingo, who was again from the Toyota Motors, and he used it as a tool to achieve the zero defects. Okay. By taking over the repetitive work tasks or the actions that depend on the vigilance or memory, Poka-Yoke can free up the worker's time and mind, even the mentally also he can be free to pursue more value-added activities. Okay. Initially, it was described as Baka-Yoke, which is meaning the fool proofing or idiot proofing, but then the name was later changed to a milder term called the Poka-Yoke, Poka being the mistake, Baka being the fool or idiot. Okay. So the aim of the Poka-Yoke is to design the process so that mistakes can be detected and corrected immediately, eliminating the defects at the source. Shingo distinguished between the concept of the inevitable human mistakes and defects in the production. Okay. Defects occur when the mistakes are allowed to reach the customer. That is when the defects occur. Okay. Poka-yoke overcomes the inefficiencies of inspection through the use of automatic devices that seek to do the three things. One, not accept a defect for the process. Second, not create a defect. And third, not allow a defect to be passed to the next process. Okay. And this is done in a number of different ways, but can be categorized as being either control, that is, they take physical action to prevent a defect, or warning, that is, they sound an alarm or light up to tell us that a mistake has occurred or has been made. Okay. So that is how this Poka-yoke works, and these are the purposes of this. There is always a clear relationship between the defects and the human errors. Even in the beginning itself, we said that mistakes will happen. You know, you just cannot avoid. In a repetitive work by the humans, errors are bound to happen. Okay. Sorry. So I have listed some major known causes of defects in manufacturing and corresponding the human errors. For an example, missing parts as cause of defects can be due to the human error, like intentional error or inadvertent errors. Defects caused by not following the procedures could be because of, again, human errors like intentional error, inadvertent error, or even the forgetfulness. Okay. Most of these errors can be addressed with the proper training and mentoring of the teams. So some of these errors definitely can be avoided. Not everything can be avoided. You actually have to do a mistake proofing so that even if the operator is committing a mistake, it is still caught and addressed out. Okay. So Poka-yoke will always focus on reducing or eliminating the human errors, which can cause defects. And some of the benefits of the Poka-yoke can be: one, decreased setup time with associated reduction in production time and improved productivity. Second, elimination of the setup errors. Third, improved safety. Okay. Fourth, it helps in lowering the cost of the quality control. Fifth, it helps in lowering the skill requirements. Even the increased production flexibility can be achieved using the Poka-yoke. And if you have a good Poka-yoke in place, now, if all these things are happening, the operator definitely has a better attitude because he is not supposed to run around for a lot of things simultaneously. And this ultimately leads to the increased customer satisfaction as well as the customer loyalty. Okay. There are many more benefits which the Poka-yoke can lead to, but these are some of the major benefits we can achieve using the Poka-yoke. Now, when it comes to the Poka-yoke, it is not that the Poka-yoke is meant only for the high-end, top-end kind of a manufacturing. Poka-yoke is actually present in our everyday lives. And some of these examples are actually very common and simple, but we sometimes don't even realize that we are doing some, mistake proofing or some, error proofing in a default manner. So error proofing in every day can range from safety features that could prevent us from getting injured to maybe even a spell check into your Word document, which simply prevents us from making spelling errors that can, if they go to the customer may say, hey, this guy doesn't even know to write the proper English. So spell checking actually, helps us to even prevent the spelling errors also. So I'm going to take some of the examples and then, we will move on. So the one example I'm taking is the mirror image writing. I'm sure you would have noticed that ambulance is always written in a reverse image. Okay, it's never written in the normal way, the way we write it. And the logic for that is that when you're looking in the mirror while you're driving and you're looking in the rear view mirror, that time the image will appear opposite and it will actually be readable to you. But if it is written in a normal way, it will be written in the, it will be visible to you in a negative way. So what happens is that this again is a way of mistake proofing, so that the ambulance is visible apart from the flashing lights and everything. The name ambulance is visible to the people who are looking into the back mirror. Okay? So this is also an example of the error proofing. Second example, this is more from the industry. So whenever we put up an equipment for a service. Take an example of a chemical factory where you have got a large cauldron, processing cauldron, and it has to be cleaned up. Now, assume that you are cleaning it, you have gone inside the equipment to clean it, and for some reason or the other, the guys outside didn't know that you're inside and they switched on. What will happen? Chances are that either you will seriously get injured or you may even die. So what we do over there is that we actually put out a lockout and tagout kind of a system. We will lock up the control panels. We'll put up a tag over there saying that, please don't switch it on till this tag is removed by the authorized person. Okay. So this is to ensure that there's no accidental switching on of the equipment done. And this is also one of the OSHA federal regulation procedure as a procedure, which has to be followed while serving the equipment or machines. So this is a second example. Third example is a very, very common example, which all of us would have seen it. The SIM card has got a cut in one side, and that cut is designed in such a way that when you put the SIM card into a tray before inserting it into the mobile, it will not accept it into any other way except when the cut part matches with the slot given into the tray. Okay, so this ensures that you're never inserting the same into a wrong way. Okay, so this is a very simple example, very common example, but this is again an example of the POCA UK. The other example I'm taking over here is the toilet lights into an aircraft. So once you go into a toilet in the aircraft, when you close the latch from inside, it switches on approximately, triggers a switch, and it switches on the light saying that the toilet is occupied. The moment you unlock it, the light goes off, saying that the toilet is now available. So now, just by looking at the light, you know that the toilet is occupied. You don't have to walk up all the way to toilet and find that toilet is occupied. So these are some of the examples of the POCA UK, which in the common life we are using it. So this was the idea to just give you a perspective of what is POCA UK, how we do the error proofing, how we do the mistake proofing. We all use it in a daily life. But when you go into the industry, you get into the complex scenarios, obviously you have got more things to look into. You really have to dive into it. Okay. So when we apply the POCA UK, there are 6 principles by which we define the POCA UK overall. Okay. Broadly, they're not even 6, there are 2 principles only. One is prevention of occurrence of the human error. And the second is detection of the error after the occurrence of the human error. Okay. First is you prevent, and if it has not been prevented, it has still happened, then you have got some kind of a mechanism by which at least you can detect that error has occurred and take the right corrective actions over there. These 2 principles are further subdivided into the multiple sub-principles. So principle of occurrence of human error has got sub-principles like elimination, prevention, replacement, and facilitation. Principle of detection of error has sub-principles like detection and mitigation. So these are the 6 parameters or the 6 principles of mistake proofing, which we'll be talking in the next slide. So we'll take the prevent occurrence of human error as the first part and talk about the sub 4 principles over here. The first one is elimination, which is don't do it anymore. Okay. So elimination is to eliminate the possibility of error by redesigning the product or processes so that the task or part is no longer necessary. Okay. It works on the methodology to eliminate any process that might cause the human error. It can be done either by redesigning the product or process workflow corrections. The second one we have is the prevention. Okay. Prevention will mean is that make sure that it can never be done in a wrong way. Okay. Or in a more specific way, prevention is to design and engineer the product or process so that it is impossible to make a mistake at all. Okay. When an error-prone process cannot be eliminated or redesign the product is too costly, then the error itself, then prevention is the only solution. Okay. I can't change the product, I can't change the processes because it is too costly. Perhaps solving the problem or solving the error is cheaper. Then in that case, I have to look at how can I prevent it. Okay, so prevention would make the process robust so that there is no chance of any kind of a human error. The third principle which comes in is replacement, which in other words is that use something better. So if you have something, but if you can use a better thing, it will help you over here. So replacement is to substitute a more reliable process to improve the consistency. When both elimination and prevention does not work, a more reliable process is needed to replace the existing process. Okay, so that's a third part. The fourth principle is facilitation. That is, make the task easier to perform. So that's a fourth one. Now, again, facilitation is to employ techniques and to combine steps to make the work easier to perform. Facilitation also would encourage to have a better and simplified process flow so that there is less chance of an error. So these are the four sub-principles which we talked about: elimination, prevention, replacement, facilitation, towards the prevention of occurrence of the human error. Now let's look at the other side. Error has already occurred. How do we minimize the effects by detecting it early on? Okay, so to minimize this effect after the occurrence of the human error, we can apply the two sub-principles. One is the detection, that is, notice what is going wrong and stop it, or detect it to identify an error before further processing occurs so that the users can quickly correct the problem. When an error has already occurred, it is always better to stop it as soon as possible. Okay, and detection in the Poka-Yoke works on that principle. The second thing which you can do is mitigate. Okay, we have detected, we have found the error. Now, don't let that situation become worse than what it is right now. Okay, so you mitigate, which is again seek how to minimize the effect of that particular error. Okay, when it is impossible to detect and stop the error, the next best solution is to mitigate the risk by reducing the number of errors which can happen in this. So these are the two principles, detection and mitigations, which we apply while minimizing the effects after the detection has been done. Okay. So early on, if you would have noticed, I've been using the words mistake proofing, error proofing, Poka-Yoke. I have been using all these three words, and these words we have been using it interchangeably. Okay. A lot of practitioners consider that all these three terms are actually one and the same. No matter what title you choose, the fundamental purpose of three is to prevent the errors that cause the defects, notify the operator if an error has occurred, or prevent the defect from moving to the next step in the process or reaching the customer. It's the same fundamental concept for all the three things. While we use these terms interchangeably, they're common in the same many ways. But when you investigate the history and deeper meaning of the terms, we will find out that there is slight difference between each of them. So let's quickly look into the difference between all the three of them as well. So mistake proofing. The mistake proofing is devoted to the implementation of devices or methods that prevent an error, provide notification of an error, or prevent the defect from moving to the next step. Okay, so that is what the mistake proofing is. Devoted to the implementation of devices or methods that prevent an error, provide notification of an error, or prevent the defect from moving to the next step. Okay, mistake proofing and the Poka-Yoke overall, they consist of the three levels of the application. We will talk about them a bit later. Let's look into what is error proofing. Error proofing is the act of implementing fail-safe mechanism to prevent the production of the non-conforming parts. Error proofing would focus on error prevention at the source or point of creation. Okay? If you remember, mistake proofing is some device implementation or methods implementation that can prevent an error, and error proofing is to ensure that it is a complete prevention at the source itself or at the point of the creation. Okay, it doesn't bother about providing the notification of an error to the operator and so on and so forth, or rather it's moving forward. It's a complete stoppage right at that point itself. So nothing should pass after the error proofing. Error proofing, unlike the mistake proofing, consists of only one level, which is equivalent of the highest level in the mistake proofing or the Poka-Yoke. Okay. Now let's look at the Poka-Yoke. Poka-Yoke focuses on reducing or eliminating the human errors. which cause the defects. In a way, it is very similar to mistake proofing, except that it is centered on the human factor. While in the mistake proofing, we also use the devices and the methods to prevent the error. In this case, it is centered on the human factor. Okay. Heart of the POCA IOK is more of a concept than a procedure. So it's not a procedure or a process, but it's a concept, and its implementation in different ways is what helps you to prevent the errors over here. So implementation of the POCA IOK would be governed by what people think they can do to prevent the errors in their workplace, and not by a step-by-step instruction on how they should do their job. That's why we say that some of the errors can be eliminated by training, but training cannot always eliminate everything. So you have to figure out the solutions rather to remove the errors or not let the errors actually take place. Okay. Again, we had talked about it, that the POCA IOK philosophy is based upon the two fundamental observations about the human behavior. One is the mistakes are inevitable, and second is a belief that the errors can be always eliminated. Okay. So using these two principles, we go about the error proofing, mistake proofing, and POCA IOK. Now, what are the three levels of the POCA IOK? So, three levels of the POCA IOK and mistake proofing are level 3 cannot produce, level 2 cannot process, and level 1 cannot accept or pass. For error proofing, if you remember, we said that there is only one level, which is the highest level of the mistake proofing. And the highest level over here is the level 3, that is, you cannot produce. Okay. So let's just examine that in a little more. So level 3 cannot produce is the highest level of mistake proofing, and it encompasses all kinds of the controls which you implement to prevent the defects from occurring. Okay. Therefore, non-compliant parts cannot be produced. For an example, again, if I take a very simple thing, you have a USB. Remember, you have a USB, you cannot put it into a particular position. Sorry, it goes only in a particular position. It cannot go in any direction, right? It's a unidirectional way only. So it can be fixed only in one way. Assembly fixtures, sometimes we prevent it in such a way that the die cannot be inserted in a wrong way. It goes only in a right way. So these are the ways in which we create the kind of the scenarios by which the mistakes cannot happen. So all the controls which you put in, which can ensure that you cannot create an error, is the level 3. That's the topmost level, and that's also equivalent to the error proofing. The second one is the level 2 cannot process, which is sometimes referred to as a warning level, as it provides a notification to the operator that a defect has occurred. Okay, so I'm trying to process something, but unfortunately I cannot process it. So some kind of a warning may come up. Operator may look at that warning, maybe a flash, maybe a light, maybe a sound, and then accordingly say, hey, something has gone wrong, let me look back into it. Okay, so for an example, if I'm taking a torque tool and I'm using that torque tool to tighten up something, and the correct torque has been applied, then it could give me a red light, or if it is not a right one, it could give me a green light. If it is right one, it could give me green light. If it is a wrong torque, it could give me a red light. Okay. Or sometimes you could have certain counters implemented, which could say that you were to pass 16 parts from here, but then it has passed only 15 parts. So it will not become green till the 16 parts have passed through. Okay. So it's a process. And the process is not completed. So I'm warning you that the process is not happening in a correct way. So that's a level 2. The third, or the level 1, the third level is cannot accept or pass. This focuses on keeping the defective products from reaching the next operation. Okay. Example could be, I have an inspection sheet or I have a checklist, and using that checklist, I go through the entire thing and I find out that one checklist point is not matching. So I can stop right there itself, saying that, hey, this checklist is not matching, or this particular action has not been done. So I have to stop. Or there is at the end of the line, I'm doing a complete testing of the product and I find out that the product is not working properly. Okay. So in that case, the checklist or any functional testing is helping me to accept or pass that particular product to the next level. Okay. So these are the 3 levels of the POCA IOK. Again, coming back, the level 3, which is cannot produce, is error proofing, which is basically saying that whatever you do, I'll not let an error pass through. Okay. Whereas in the mistake proofing, I'll go through the 3 stages of correcting the error. Okay. So that is how the three levels of the Poka-Yoke are there. Let's look at the tools for the error identification. Not always a complicated scenario can be visually, diagnosed. It will require some kind of analysis. It may require some kind of even the statistical data collection and then, analysis of that and then identify the whole thing. You may, after the error has been identified, you may carry out certain Kaizens, you may do some Jidoka on top of it, you may do certain Gemba walks over there, you may do certain other things also, you may do the SMAD, multiple things to correct the defect, okay? And then produce a Poka-Yoke in a way that the Poka-Yoke then starts, contain your defects from passing it on. So what are these tools? I'm highlighting the three tools. First one is the failure mode and defect analysis, or FMEA, which is a structured approach to discovering the potential failures that may exist within the design of a product or process. Failure modes are the ways in which a process can fail, and effect are the ways that these failures can lead to waste, defects, or harmful outcome for the customer. Okay, so FMEA is one tool which we deploy over here. The second tool which we use, and these are circumstantial. So you may be able to use all the three tools. You may be able to use a combination of them or only one of the two. This will go as per the circumstance. So the second tool which we can use is the fault tree analysis, FTA, which is a top-down deductive failure analysis in which an undesired state of a system is analyzed using the Boolean logic to combine a series of the lower level events. The third tool which we apply is the advanced product quality planning, or APQP as we call it in a short form, which is a framework of procedures and techniques used to develop the products in industry. And this primarily has been used into the automotive industry, but any continuous, batch processing or a continuous processing or a job shop, you can still apply it over there. Okay? It is similar to the concept of a design for the Six Sigma. So these are the three tools which you can use for the error identification. Okay? So now let's look up at a concept of prevention versus the detection. Okay? Very easy to say that I should prevent and then I should detect, but what is prevention, what is detection, and how does it happen? It's a major debate that what is good, is the prevention better or the detection is better. Poka-Yoke tries to address both of them. Okay? Ideally, Poka-Yoke would ensure that the process is designed in such a way that the mistakes can be prevented before they even occur. Okay? Preventing defects from occurring in the first place is the first priority. Wherever this is not possible, Poka-Yoke performs a detective function that is correcting and eliminating the defects in the process as early as possible. Okay? I think in the earlier webinar on cost of quality, we had talked about it, that if I detect a defect right in the manufacturing process itself, or I detect a defect at the customer side, my cost of eliminating that defect or mitigating that defect will humongously rise if it is at the customer location. Okay, so it is better that we detect and resolve the issue or mitigate the issue as early as possible in the process. A prevention-based Poka-Yoke system acts before a defect occurs, and the Poka-Yoke mechanism would sense an abnormality that is about to happen and then signal the occurrence. So that way the operator can get alerted and then our operator can take the right kind of the preventive actions. In the detection-based Poka-Yoke, the Poka-Yoke would signal the user when a mistake has been made. Okay? System does not allow the continuation of the process so that the user can quickly correct the problem. But in this case, it is happening after the error has occurred. Okay? So Poka-Yoke addresses both the things, prevention as well as the detection, both the things. Okay? In many situations, it is not possible or economically feasible to prevent the defects, particularly where the capital cost of the Poka-Yoke mechanism far exceeds the cost of the prevention. Okay? For those situations, defects are detected early in the process, and preventing them from flowing the downstream process becomes the preventing part of the Poka-Yoke. Okay? Ideally, the Poka-Yoke prevents the error altogether by the nature of how it is designed. And if a Poka-Yoke cannot eliminate the opportunity for error completely, then it must warn immediately if the error has occurred through inspections or in form of some kind of alarm or a warning light or something or the other. Okay, so it's not a debate of the prevention versus detection in Poka-Yoke. Poka-Yoke uses both of them. Okay? Good Poka-Yoke would also use the simple and inexpensive devices. Okay? They need to be cost effective definitely towards the processes, and they need to be the integral part of the process, implementing what Shingo calls 100% inspection. These kind of devices can be placed close to where the mistakes occur and provide the immediate feedback to the workers so that the mistakes can be corrected. And these kind of the things can be the sensors, lights, limit switches, all these kind of the things can be part of your Poka-Yoke devices. Okay? Let's take an example of a vision system, and it's a very interesting example of the what you call Ducati engine manufacturing. So let's just see that for a moment. So as you can see over here, as he's putting up the torque range, the lights are telling him whether the pressure is proper. Now when he has put it, whether it has gone in the right place, which part to pick up, the lights are flashing. It is also showing you in which direction it has to be put in, right? It has been put in rightly, so it is also showing it in the green light. Then it is highlighting where the right kind of the nuts have to be put and where they have to be put. So it's a complete error proofing and a complete mistake proofing. If you're following these instructions, this tool, the artificial intelligence based tool which has been developed, it is ensuring that you are not making any kind of a mistake while assembling the engine. So you can see that every time he is tightening the screw, it is also giving a light and telling him that whether the screw has been tightened up in a proper way or not. And as he puts the equipment back in the right place, it also says that yes, it has been put back in the right thing. Now it is completed and it's saying congratulations over here. Of course, this is a bit of a demo, but then at the same time, this is a classical example of how a vision system based Poka-Yoke would take place. All right. So let's talk about the Poka-Yoke approaches and methods. Usually, Poka-Yoke has got the two approaches. One is a control approach, and the second is a warning approach. So the control approach senses a problem whenever it senses a problem and stops a line or process immediately after sensing the problem so that the corrective action can take place immediately. And this avoids a serial defect generation. That is, a repetitive defect can be avoided because now you already get a warning. Okay, in the or you get a problem identification over here. The second part is the warning approach, which would signal the occurrence of a deviation or trend of deviation through an escalating series of the buzzers, lights, or other warning devices. However, unlike the control method, the warning method does not shut down the process on every occurrence. It will just give you a warning. Control process will actually stop the process. Okay, so based upon the severity of the issue, you can decide that if this kind of an error happens, I need to shut down so that the error can be corrected. In case it is not a very severe one, I can continue, but a warning must come so that I can take the corrective action as necessary or immediately. Okay. There are three Poka-Yoke methods: contact method, constant number or fixed value method, and sequence or motion step method. So we'll look into all the three of them quickly and try to understand each of these methods. So contact method, in the contact method, Poka-Yoke would detect the defects of a part by measuring its physical characteristics like the length, height, volume, color, or any other physical attributes over here. Okay. Since the Poka-Yoke mechanism comes in direct contact with the part, that is why it is called the contact method. Okay. It can also include sometimes the limit switches, proximity sensors, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, if you look in the example which I put in over here, if you want to connect the male and female plug over here, if it is two rounds, plug or two round pins, and the holes are also same, you can do the positive, negative, negative, positive. So it can cause a short blast. But if you have got a kind of a varying pin sizes and the shapes of the pin, then you can fit them only when it is matching it properly. This will avoid any kind of a failure by the wrong contacts over here. But since it is physically connecting and going by the length and the shape and the height or the characteristic of the pin, we call it as a contact method over here. Okay, so this is the contact method. If I take one or two examples of the contact method, I'm sure that you have seen that whenever you have got an under bridge pass, there may be a yellow bar on the top, which may be painted as the white and red, white and black, or the yellow and black, or red and black, which will be essentially saying that this is the maximum height. If your vehicle is taller than this, please do not attempt to cross, because it can get jammed into this. Okay, so this is to prevent an error, and it is a contact method again. It is saying that this is the maximum height allowed to go through this particular underbridge. Okay, so this is again another example of contact method. The second method is the constant number or the fixed value. This method would alert the operator if a certain number of the movements are not made. Okay, so suppose an operation needs to be performed multiple times and a Poka-Yoke has been installed over there, then it will make sure that the operation is performed for that many times as it has been specified. Suppose I'm supposed to put in the 6 screws into a casing. If I'm not putting in all the 6 screws, then it will alert me that I have not completed all my sequence of the operation as specified. Okay, so it will count the number of repeated operation, that is the 6 times the screw insertion and then tightening. That's why we could call it as a fixed value method also. Okay, we could even put up the counters to calculate, and count the number of the fixed parts to be used at the each step. Take an example. If you ever have used the IKEA furniture comes with a very clear instructions of how to assemble it, and it comes with a very fixed number of the parts which are used for assembling it. Okay, at the end of the entire assembly, if you're left over even with one screw, then definitely you have missed out that screw somewhere and you have to look back. Okay, so that's a very simple Poka-Yoke. Every screw has to be used because every screw has been strategically designed to be part of controlling the furniture or managing the furniture. So that's a fixed value method over here. Okay, now in a manufacturing, what we could do is also that we could also provide a bin, like I have given an example over here. And in the bin, there could be fixed number of the parts which are supplied to you. So when you are actually doing the assembly, you have to use all the components provided over there. If some component is left behind in that, that means that you have not completed your complete work. And if it is sensor based, then it will alert you automatically and maybe even put up the warning lights and so on. So that's a constant number or the fixed value method over here. Same example which I took over here, that you can be given a bin and you can be given a set of the different parts which go towards a common assembly. And if a part is left behind, that means that you have not completed your operation properly. The third one is the sequence of the motion step. Okay, this method aims to ensure that the prescribed steps of the process have been followed before starting the next stage. Motion stop Poka-Yoke would check if an operation has been performed all the required functions or not. Okay, if operator has not performed or has missed out any step, then or a step which is not really required, then in that case, some kind of the warning would come up, and this will ensure that operators do not miss out any step in completing the complete sequence of the assembly. Okay. Color coding and tagging, these are other examples of sequencing of the Poka-Yoke. For an example, I could be, saying that all the parts coming with the red color have to go into a particular part. The green color has to go into a particular location. And if I'm left behind with something on the green or red, I know that I've not completed all my sequences or all my motions correctly. So that's another way in which this is kind of carried out. Okay. Good example would be a healthcare, where if you have gone into an ICU or if you have gone into a hospital room, and if there are oxygen supply into that particular room, or there is a medical air which is supplied over there, you'll find the different kind of the outlets with the different kind of the color notings over there, which are the standard colors given to that particular type of the material or that particular type of the gas. The receptacles which will go into that also will be of the same type of the color, so that you do not mix and match and by mistake, instead of giving oxygen to the patient, give something else over here. So these are again the examples of the Poka-yoke, or the sequence of the motion is that this is based upon the example. This one is based upon the color coding over here. Some of the commonly implemented Poka-yokes we talk about in the manufacturing, then they can be that usually when you have someone consider the changes to die design for efficiency, for an example. Okay, I get a die and I could put it into the machine in a way that it may not be correct. But if I have a solution, if I have ensured that my fixtures and the jigs are placed in such a way that my die doesn't fit in any direction, but only in the direction required, then that can be a way in which I can ensure the die design efficiency starts coming in. Okay, my change of the design, change of the die is fast and quick, and I'm not committing any kind of a mistake while putting it up over there. I could similarly design the fixtures for the consistency. Similar to the point number one, which I said that as the die, that you could have the right kind of a shape and then only one shape could go or one side could go. Fixtures also can be modified in order to make it impossible to place the part incorrectly. Third, we can even install the sensors to prevent the processing of a defective product. We can put up the limit switch, we can put up the proximity sensors or the infrared sensors. These sensors can also ensure that we are not putting something in a wrong manner or a wrong direction. The fourth one, we can establish the vision system to rectify the abnormality. I gave you the example of the vision system using the Ducati engine. So this vision system can always capture the image, process it, and trigger an action in a predetermined series. Okay, so this is what you saw even in that small example also. Fifth, we can also create a checklist to outline the steps. Usually a checklist is one of the weakest mistake proofing technique, but once the checklist is actually integrated into your work elements, it definitely helps a lot. For an example, wherever you have the color codes identified, checklist can ensure that your tools match that color code and you are not taking up the wrong action by picking up the wrong tool. Okay. Sixth one, these are common examples, but then sixth one is that you can be creative on your own. We have seen all kinds of the creative solutions on the shop floor, which are not costly, which are not capital intensive. These are very simple and out of the box thinking, but they help you to prevent the mistakes which do occur over here. So normally what happens is that when someone from the outside actually walks into your factory, looks around and say that, hey, why don't you improve this particular thing? What if you do this particular small thing? We always feel that this guy is a genius because he just walked in and he could tell us so many things which could be changed. But actually anybody with a slight dose of the creativity and understanding of the main types of the Poka-yoke, how the Poka-yokes work and their principles, can always come up with the good ideas and help you to actually improve your working over there. So Poka-yoke is not a rocket science in its own way. Okay. I'll share some real life examples which we have gone through. Some of the examples I could not actually find the right kind of the pictures, so I have taken the internet pictures to show that accordingly. But just to give you the perspective over here, in one of the factory, a chemical factory, we have asked them to actually paint the different kind of the pipes with the different color codes. There are industry standards for the color code, industry standard color codes for the variety of the pipes in a factory. For an example, a blue pipe will carry the fresh water, red pipe will carry the water for the fire hydrants. Okay, if you have a silver color pipe, then it means that there is a steam passing through that particular pipe. Or if it is a yellow color pipe, it means that there is a flammable gas which is passing through that pipe. So now what happens is that whenever I have to do any kind of a corrective action or I have to do any maintenance, I know that this pipe actually has got a flammable gas. So I should not, tinker around with it because it can burst and it can create a fire. So color coding over here actually helps us to avoid any kind of a accident over here. This definitely is a very good photograph. Incidentally, this is a photograph from the utility part of a Google data center. So Google data center has got a utility section, which steam, hot oil and coolant and all kind of the thing for the data center. So this piping coloring is for that. Similarly, you can also do the color coding on the floor, and that can also help you to identify that what material has to be kept where. Okay, this is also part of the 5S, but it's also a Poka-yoke. So there are again standard colors. Red color is used for the scrap items of the red text. If an area is marked with a blue color, then it means that only raw material is to be kept over there. Similarly, if you have a green color marking, then it means that it is a finished goods. And if it is a yellow marking over there, then that's a kind of a pathway and you can pass through that. And that's also sometimes highlighted as the boundaries of the work areas. Okay, so these markings again help you to identify that what should go where and how. Okay, so that's again another kind of a Poka-yoke. This is some photographs. I thought that this is good enough resolution to show over here, so I took this out. In one of the companies, what we have done is that there were a lot of thread rolls which had to be kept. So on the left hand side, what we did is we created a stand, the 3 rolls pointing to one side of the machine and 3 rolls on the other side of the machine. So direction of the roll ensured that you pick up the right roll for that machine only. And even the rolls over there are placed as per the color coding. So you know that what roll has to be used for what particular purpose. Okay, this itself ensured that the rolls which were kept somewhere else and they were brought in by somebody else who was not the right person, who was just a helper to dump the roll over here, could sometimes even bring the wrong roll and then you had to wait. This was increasing the downtime of the machine while changing the rolls. This roll being over there in the right sequence itself with the color coding, the operator himself can do it. And in the free time, when the machine is running, he can ask the helper to bring similar rolls from the main stockyard. So this again became the same thing. Similarly, what we did is, as another example of the Poka-yoke, we took the 5 containers and placed them in a specific matrix so that we could maximize the number of the rolls which could be kept within that, and a consolidated section of the 5 such crates in such a way that when we place it on the shop floor, it would occupy the minimum space and yet be able to maximize the number of the rolls to be kept over there. So this was another Poka-yoke which we tried to balance it out over here. This is a classical example of the die, and if you can see that there are different sizes of the holes over here, and each hole ensures that you cannot place the die into a different direction. It will go only into the same direction. Again, I could not take the photograph of the right kind of the die, which we helped one of the companies to improve upon, but just an illustration just to show you that how it can be done. This is again another thing which we did. So on the right hand side, the right drawing which we have done, what we have done is that we have placed over here the bins into a slanted mechanism. And the idea is that the lower height side is the discharge part and the higher height side is the feeding side. By feeding from the higher side, the material will start sliding down to the lower side and it will jam up one by one. When you are extracting from the front side, which is the lower side, what will happen is you will always pick up the first in, first out material. So the FIFO is ensured by just doing this kind of a sliding mechanism over here. Okay, and the filler will come from the back side, so you will also not obstruct the people who would withdraw the material while actually operating something. So this also gives you a space to the operator to operate easily while the filler can keep on filling without disturbing the operator, and the Poka-yoke can ensure the FIFO. The trolley which we made for this thing was designed in a way so that you can actually take the fixed number of the bobbins in a one go itself, not take it in the multiple way. People were taking more than required bobbins by sizing this particular crate, ensuring that the number of the bobbins are fixed into this. The supply to a particular machine now was ensuring that the fixed number of the bobbins were given to that machine operator, and he doesn't have to wait for the missing bobbin over here. So this is again, very simple example of the Poka-yoke. This is again a dyeing and processing house. People from Surat would really appreciate this more. What has been done over here is, this is still work in progress. People still have not done it correctly. But what has been done is that the color coding has been done as the yellow, red, green, and blue, and each one is a different size of the squeegee. So when you put the squeegee, this is not visible here clearly, but the squeegee is colored as well accordingly. So a yellow color squeegee will go only in the stand with the yellow color, and the green color will go only the green color. Each color denotes a particular size. So that way what happens is that when I have to pick up the squeegees, I pick up the right kind of the squeegee by identifying them with the color coded rack over here. Okay. So this is what the Poka-yoke overall is. Just to sum up and to look into it, Poka-yoke techniques can always be used wherever a mistake can occur, could occur, and something which can be done to avoid that particular mistake. Okay. This fundamentally means that anywhere and everywhere you can apply the Poka-yoke over here. It can be successfully applied to any type of a process and manufacturing, or even in the service industry, and it can prevent all kinds of the errors over here. Okay. The 6 type of the major errors which it can handle. Number 1, processing error, which is process operation missed out or not performed as per the standard operating procedure. Second error it can avoid is the setup error, which is using the wrong tooling or setting machine adjustments incorrectly. It can help you to avoid that. Missing parts, that is not all the parts included in the assembly, welding, or other processes. It can also help you to contain that. Improper parts or the items, that is wrong parts being used in the process. Or operational errors, which is carrying out an operation incorrectly, having the incorrect version of the specification or anything like that. And the last one is the measurement error, that is error in the machine adjustments, test measurements, or dimension of a part coming in from a supplier, and so on and so forth. So these are the top 6 kind of the errors. It definitely can help you. But other than this also, it can always help you with any type of a situation where the errors can be prevented. Okay. So Shingo, the engineer from the Toyota Motors, distinguished between the concepts of inevitable human mistakes and defects in the production. And defects occur when the mistakes are allowed to reach the customer. Okay. Poka-yoke is a lean strategy into the human error prevention. And there are 2 approaches to Poka-yoke: control and warning. The 3 methods of the Poka-yoke: contact, constant number or fixed value, and sequence or motion and steps. And then there are 6 principles of Poka-yoke which we talked about: elimination, prevention, replacement, facilitation, detection, and mitigation. Okay. So once again, I think mistakes are unavoidable in a process, but what we can do is to reduce the chance of doing the mistakes. And if there are lesser number of opportunities to do a mistake, then there will always be lesser number of the mistakes. Poka-yoke triggers a modified process flow or a new process flow so that there are less chances of doing a mistake. Okay. I hope that this session has given you some insights into the Poka-yoke. Skilltelligent and Oro can always undertake the detailed formal training for your teams on the shop floor with your own live examples and help you to implement the Poka-yoke in a more effective way. Thank you everyone for attending this session. If there are any questions, we can definitely take them up now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for apprising us on the subject. We have few questions coming in.
Sure.
The first one is Poka-yoke also a device?
So Poka-yoke per se is not a device. Poka-yoke actually is a mechanism only. It's a philosophy and it's a mechanism and a concept, but it does use various devices for the error proofing and the mistake proofing. Like I mentioned, the sensors, limit switches, lights, buzzers, vision control systems, the way of putting up the fixtures and the other kind of the things and so on and so forth. So some of those things people end up calling them as the Poka-yoke devices. But Poka-yoke per se is not a device itself.
Okay. Second question. How to ensure that operators do not commit repeat mistakes? Can Poka-yoke help there?
Yes, Poka-yoke is for the purpose of preventing the mistakes. And depending upon the operations involved, you could always analyze the process and methods, equipments, and the operator steps, and so on and so forth. And by looking at the sequence of the operations over here, you can identify that what kind of the improvements should be brought in to prevent the mistakes. Once we have localized the mistake area and the root cause has been determined, then we can carry out the Kaizens or the SMED or any other thing or any other lean tool, which can help us to find a solution to improve the process. Once the improvements have been brought in, that can result into the changes into the either machine operation or maybe the process itself or the complete process flow or method. And we may even deploy then some kind of the sensor, some kind of modification or changes into the equipment and so on, so that the operator doesn't commit a repeat mistake, right? So yes, Poka-yoke can help the operators from repeating, committing the not committing the repeat mistakes.
Next question. Is it used in only line production?
Sorry, is it used only in the?
Only in a line production it is used? Or it can be used?
No. It's not only in line production, it can be used anywhere. Okay. So if you have a line production, then you would use the sequence and method type of the Poka-yoke over there because it's a sequential operation. So it becomes more effective. But Poka-yoke is applicable everywhere. I mean, we talked about the Poka-yoke even into a SIM card. So SIM card also is, using a Poka-yoke technique to ensure that you can't insert it in the wrong direction. So it's not just for the line production, it is for every situation where the errors are happening, defects can occur, and you want to prevent them or you want to detect and then address them.
Next question. Do Jidoka and Poka-yoke work together?
So normally Jidoka would follow the Poka-yoke, where the automation for prevention solution would be handled by the Jidoka. Okay. For an example, that let's say that we are filling up some material into a packet, and sometimes that packet filling is not happening in a regular way. The material is less over there. If the material is less and there is a device which is placed over there, a sensor has been placed over there which detects that the weight of the packet is lesser than what it should be, or the components in the packet are lesser than what it should be, then it could trigger an action of either a warning, or it could have a Jidoka which could stop the entire thing or push out that packet outside the assembly line or the packing line and continue with the rest of the thing, so that you can address that particular packet separately. So Jidoka would come into the action after the Poka-yoke has been done and Poka-yoke has identified that where the Jidoka should be placed. So that is how the sequence would work. But yes, to your question, Jidoka and Poka-yoke usually work together. You use two together to make it more effective on the shop floor.
Okay. Sir, we have come to the end of this session. We do not have any more questions. Thank you, sir, for apprising us on the subject that is Poka-yoke error proofing. We have just learned that Poka-yoke is a technique for avoiding simple human error in the workplace, which otherwise consumes a lot of precious time and efforts. And hello, sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, and thus impacting the productivity and quality. Effective implementation of this concept can certainly help organizations in many ways. For example, less time spent on training workers, elimination of many operations related to the quality control, unburdening of operators from repetitive operations, a reduced number of rejects, 100% built-in quality control, and many more. I always put emphasis on effective implementation of any technique or process because unless a particular tool or technique is not implemented the way it is supposed to be, it would not produce desired results. We at our university and Skilltelligent jointly can help your organizations in effective implementation of these tools and techniques. As I shared in my last webinar, that we will be launching the short-term course on Certified Lean Manufacturing Supervisor very shortly. The course would focus on various such tools and techniques. We will share the information once we finalize the dates and other related things. Our next webinar will be on coming Thursday, that is on 8th of October, same at 4 p.m. And the topic would be Total Productive Maintenance, that is TPM. I take this opportunity to thank Atul sir for being with us and apprising us on the subject. I would like to thank all the participants and look forward to see you